If you were given a choice between two things, eating a cake or picking a piece of paper, that if you scratch it and win, you'd earn millions. But there's a huge problem. The probability of winning is 1 in a billion. So you're essentially guaranteed not to win. On the other hand, the cake would satisfy your hunger for 3 or 4 days. Obviously, you'd choose the cake, right? Because logic tells you to. But your animal instincts or greed create a nagging feeling inside you, telling you that you could be the 1 in a billion who wins. This same feeling, without you even realizing it, might make you choose the piece of paper, even though the odds are 1 in a trillion. This is the nature of humans. They're greedy. No matter how much they have, they always want more. No matter how much they take, they'll never be satisfied. Do you know how gambling sites make money? They ensure that they bring you back every time. To guarantee that, they don't win all the time. You might win once, but that's just to make sure you come back again. What they're sure of is that you'll always have hope that you can recover your losses, which pulls you deeper into the trap and life ends completely. Squid Game poses an important philosophical question. Is it the devil who encourages humans to sin, or are humans themselves the real devils? Answer became clear after the last episode. Humans are fragile, weak, greedy creatures who always want to play the victim, blame the entire world except themselves. Why was I born? I lost my money. It must be bad luck. They must scam me. They are the ones at fault, not me. It's always them, never me. From the beginning of the episode, we believed in the hero. His actions all pointed to him being the ideal person, someone who had seen horror with his own eyes, abandoned his daughter, lost his friend and his lover, and became obsessed with the game. He had to finish the game at any cost. He had to save as many people as possible. From the start of the series, he kept telling the other players, we need to get out of here and we'll all get out together. Until he sacrificed a few of them to carry out a coup against the game's organizers. The act of sacrifice itself destroyed his credibility. It shattered the principles he had once believed in. His journey, which began with justice and a desire to end the game, had transformed. We took advantage of your need for money and your faith. This time, the games will be much easier than before. There's no room for luck anymore. In the first season, the triangle, square, circle, and umbrella game was based on luck, random choices, and chance. The game with the ladders, where one is safe and the other is broken, was also based on luck. Now it's based on cooperation sometimes, and individual effort other times. You complained last time that you were forced to play. This time, between each game, you have the right to choose whether to continue or not. And not just that, remember the first game in the first season, the game of hide and seek, when we introduced it. You left and we told you that the money would go to the families of the victims who died. You left, but you came back because you wanted to win. Now we're telling you that the money between each round will be distributed to you, not to the families of the dead, and yet you chose to continue. All these changes prove one perspective for the hero, that humans are willing to sacrifice anything, even their lives, because of their greed. You'll notice that in every round, there will be some people who tell you, next round will stop when the money increases. And the more the money increases, the greedier they become. Even the leader voted twice to leave the game, but still, the majority voted to continue. Their desire for money outweighs everything else. Why does the leader act like this? In the very first episode, when the hero confronts the man who recruited him and brought him into the game, he says, I spent many years killing and burning hundreds and thousands of players until they gave me a gun. I was so happy. Finally, they acknowledged me. He describes the contestants he kills as trash, people with no value, no impact on society. To him, the game isn't just a job. It's his entire life. It's a life he lives even outside of work, spending his own money on things like lottery tickets just to manipulate and enjoy watching the homeless people as they pick the cards. The game is his sacred entity, one that doesn't accept mistakes or discussion. His lifestyle, if disrupted, would completely collapse. He lives for the game and accepts its rules, no matter how unjust or oppressive they may be. That's why when the game sentenced him to die, he chose to end his life without hesitation, even though he had the chance to kill the hero in that moment. But if he did that and didn't follow the game's rules, his life would have no meaning, and everything he did would have been pointless. So he decided to live by the game's law until the end. As for the leader, his situation is different. To him, the game represents absolute justice, the arena where everyone is equal. This is something he himself said in the first season. It's the only opportunity for humans to either live a dignified life or die meaningless deaths. From the leader's perspective, life is unfair. It's not just. Some are born rich and live well, while others, the poor, suffer their whole lives. There are the oppressors and the oppressed. Life wasn't fair when his brother fell ill and donated his kidney to him, but when his wife got sick, no one donated to her. On the contrary, when he went into debt to help her, no one understood his suffering or hers. They even considered his debts as bribes, and he was fired from his job in the police force. He entered the game, won, became a billionaire, and yet he continued. Why? Because he's a sadistic, twisted man, but also because he wants to be a figure of honor, a guardian, a protector of the game's safety and its fairness. His ambition is about control. He wants a central role, a position where he can enforce and execute justice. Because sometimes what he and his wife were deprived of course, was everything. Her death, the life they could have had, all of this, the man in the suit and the others are just dogs serving the rich who created the game. Nothing more. No matter how much you twist it or deceive yourself, greed is what drives everyone, whether it's the players risking their lives or the wealthy people who've grown tired of the pleasures of life. Their lives and souls have become empty, and their greed for sadistic entertainment resembles a form of consumption, or even like the Roman gladiators who killed each other for sport. It's a sick form of entertainment whose ultimate goal is to satisfy their primal instincts and temporarily fill the emptiness inside them. Season 2 focuses on this idea, which is why it doesn't emphasize the characters or the origin of the game as much. What he and his wife were deprived of course, was everything. Her death, the life they could have had, all of this, the man in the suit and the others are just dogs serving the rich who created the game. Nothing more. No matter how much you twist it or deceive yourself, greed is what drives everyone, whether it's the players risking their lives or the wealthy people who've grown tired of the pleasures of life. Their lives and souls have become empty, and their greed for sadistic entertainment resembles a form of consumption, or even like the Roman gladiators who killed each other for sport. It's a sick form of entertainment whose ultimate goal is to satisfy their primal instincts and temporarily fill the emptiness inside them. Season 2 focuses on this idea, which is why it doesn't emphasize the characters or the origin of the game as much. The story isn't just about their conflicts or struggles, but as much as I focus on the hero and the leader from their perspectives, I feel like season 1 sacrificed a lot of the deep action-packed moments and the emotional intensity that kept you on the edge of your seat, sometimes even breaking down just to prove a point and deliver underlying messages. It's like the conversation between the guards, like the female guard who is out of the game. Her daughter went missing in North Korea, and she's living in her car, working a modest job in a situation just like the contestants. Yet when she wears the mask, she casually kills them under the excuse that she's here to end their suffering, even though she's not far from them. She's just like them. But when she puts on the mask, she gains power. The mask made her become the executioner. The thirst for power awakens inside anyone once you give them even a small sense of importance. The mask is what makes the guards able to kill with a cold heart, disconnecting themselves emotionally from the contestants they kill. It's not just about hiding their identities. Their role is to harden their hearts, detach them from their humanity, and make them feel a false sense of importance. I said, each mask has a different shape. The triangle is at the bottom, above it the circle, and above that the square. This creates a hierarchical structure that makes them feel like they're part of a system with positions, authority, power, and ranks. Something they can climb, even if they only work 6 days a year. This leads us to the concept of herd mentality, or the idea of divide and conquer. You can control each group once you know how to break them down and take control. You have to divide them into 2, 3, or 4 groups and create divisions and problems between them, making them destroy each other while you watch. This way, you control them without exerting any effort or getting your hands dirty. People always love to be part of a group, like a herd, losing their self-worth as individuals, even if these groups are wrong. The herd mentality is widely used to impose an agenda or control someone. From the third game setup, whether it was the players who voted to leave or to continue, the Guards gave them stickers to put on their clothes, whether it was the red X or the blue circle. They were also being divided between the two symbols, even though there was no real need for this. The stickers and the division serve no real purpose because everything is ultimately tracked electronically by the computer, whether you press X or the circle, it's all counted automatically. You're not manually counting the votes. So you could press either one and still join the other contestants. So why give them the sticker? It's to create the illusion in each person's mind that they chose to join. Once you feel like you've joined a group, you start identifying with that group and distancing yourself from the other group, even if they include your friends. Once you've aligned with one group, it's like what happens in a conflict in a bathroom when you get into a problem with someone, you start acting like a wolf, defending your group regardless of whether the other side has a point. The prisoners were divided by race, white in one group, black in another, and Latinos in another, and so on. To break this cycle of control and rebellion, the solution is to completely disconnect from the conflict and focus on the bigger goal. Why are we fighting each other when we could kill the real enemy, the one who's oppressing us? This is exactly what the hero did. With just 6 or 7 people, he was able to face an army of guards. If it weren't for the cowardice of one person and the betrayal of another, he would have killed them all and ended the game. Imagine that. With just 6 or 7, he could have ended a system that's been torturing and killing people for decades. What if they had all cooperated together? The show also highlights the human weakness in the face of power, even when that power is actually weak and relies solely on fear. It reminds me of a quote from Game of Thrones when Varys spoke to Tyrion. 3 men were sitting in a room, a rich man, a priest, and a king, with an executioner holding a sword. The king said to the executioner, "I am your ruler, obey my orders." The rich man said, "I have money, I'll give you whatever you want, just kill them." And the priest said, "Kill them both in the name of the gods." Tyrion asked, "Who will the executioner kill?" Varys replied, "It depends on who the executioner wants to kill." Despite the power of the king, the wealth of the rich man, and the authority of the priest, they all had to command the executioner because they believed that their power was real, but the executioner holding the sword could have killed all 3. Power isn't with the strongest or the smartest, but with those we believe have it. This is exactly what happened in Squid Game. The players, although willing to kill each other, were too afraid to rebel or resist the guards. They were convinced they were weaker, lesser, and couldn't fight back. They feared the guards, thinking they had no chance. In the end, this fear kept them from standing up for themselves, just as those in power know how to manipulate and maintain control over them by making them believe they are powerless. The scene where the hero talks to the leader is key. He says, "We will try to get people to vote to leave the game. If that fails, we'll force them, or to put it more accurately, we'll pressure them with force." This shows the hypocrisy of the hero, in my opinion. He's desperately trying to win by any means possible. The people came here by their own will. They chose to risk their lives, yet he wants to change their minds by force. What's the difference between him and those who oppress them? Between their superiors and the people who have tormented them throughout their lives? He's turned from a savior into a ruler who imposes his law as he sees fit. The scene of the rebellion and the action was epic. The best scene of the season, very well done. The guards were not just untrained, they were cowards, and it was easy to defeat them. The fear that was in the contestants was broken. The confrontation was great. The plan was well executed, and the transitions between the stairs to the hero were smooth. We saw loud battles and shots flying, light flashes, chaos, and terror, but at the same time, the fighters' desperation to win because this was their last stand. Despite the fact that the second season was much weaker than the first, both in terms of story, character development, emotions, details, and human conflicts, it still managed to keep you on the edge of your seat, tense and anxious. The characters didn't resonate with me as much as I did in season 1. However, the second season is much stronger in terms of its underlying messages. The first season's message was clear and direct about classism, the rich trampling on the poor for their own amusement. The second season's messages are more hidden between the lines, and they have a level of creativity, like the herd mentality, the effect of false beliefs on people, the freedom of choice, the savior complex, the idea that the end justifies the means, you're hurt, you're cure, you're curious, and you're going to go after the thing that's best for what's best for you. And most importantly, the freedom of choice and the human tendency to self-destruct. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. Did you like the season or not? Was it better or worse than the first season? And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram if you enjoyed the video and content.